O'Keefe is co-owner and vice president of Peabody Heights Brewery. Born and raised in Baltimore, Eddie only briefly left Charm City for a degree in marketing at George Mason University. This led to a job at a tech startup in higher ed. Around the same time, his parents, with their extensive background in the soft drink industry, purchased Peabody Heights Brewery. Eddie joined what has now become the family business, where he leads strategic visioning, community building, and growth of the brewery. In 2023, Peabody Heights Brewery was voted Best Brewery by Baltimore Magazine. Creative Mornings Baltimore, please help me welcome Eddie to the stage.
All right, fantastic. Hi guys. Sorry, usually there's about 1.5 feet of wood bar between me and people, so please be patient with me. So I'm from Peabody Heights Brewery. Oh, thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, real rusty. I'm sure when you hear about the word rise, you kind of think about an entrepreneur that comes up here who, is here to talk about their meteoric rise and success as a business owner, and I'm here to say that we're definitely not that. We're a family business, and like a lot of families, things can be kind of messy. When I think about rise, I honestly think about the lowest part of my business, and that kind of came from the pandemic. Obviously, bars and restaurants and nightlife kind of fell off there for a while. And not only that, is just operating. So we're a manufacturing facility, and like most breweries, we only operate on like a 30% margin. And so when the pandemic happened, there was a complete shift to no sales on draft, and everything went back into aluminum cans. Unfortunately, the market wasn't prepared for that, and so our cost of aluminum went up by 30%. We were buying cans from China, Poland, Korea. I'm not sure if you guys remember that ice storm in Texas. Actually, the largest producer of ink for labels is actually based in Texas, and so our label prices went up by 40%. Probably our biggest ingredient, grain, barley, wheat, oats, things of that nature, that actually went up by 50%. So I'm not sure if you realized it, but in 2022 was actually the worst barley harvest on record in over 40 years. That, coupled with the war in Ukraine, actually prevented grains from getting imported from Europe that got malted in Germany and England. Basically, our cost of grains went up by 50%. That was a pretty tough time. Obviously, I'll segue into sort of a happier note, of course, but a big part of it is our community, really. And so, honestly, at our lowest point, I'm not sure if you guys remember, but there was an Asian festival that happened in Howard County, formerly referred to as the Fire Fest. Anyway, sorry. So we anticipated a large amount of people coming out, obviously, and maybe too many people, but we brewed about 220 kegs for the event, and I staffed over 30 different people for the event. We sold about 1/5 of the beer sales as anticipated, and that honestly was kind of at our lowest place. Not many of you know this, and this is the first time I'm saying it publicly, but I actually put the business up for sale at that time. So, and yeah, it gets better. We're good now. Yeah. This isn't a drop the mic and Peabody is done, so. Fire sale. Yeah. Thank you, Damon, for the biscuits. And so that kind of was the darkest place that our business was from. But as you go through sort of owning a business and running a business, you start to think about sort of what it means to you and what the business has meant to you. And I'm not sure if anybody's been to Peabody Heights Brewery, but we're kind of cool, really proud of the space. So I'm gonna switch it over. All right, it's Peabody. Yeah. So what some might say an eclectic mix of furniture and design aesthetic is actually a hodgepodge of what financially we could afford at the time. And it's actually really cool. There's a lot of sort of small Easter eggs in here, and I'll try to chop them out when I go closer. But Obviously I'm really proud of the space. It feels very warm. It's lived in. There's always something interesting to kind of look up and see. One of my favorite stories actually is, if you can kind of see it, but in this corner over here, there's a massive, large wood carving, and it's for sale. It's one of our regulars carved it. There was a French couple that came to the brewery probably for 3 years. And typical French fashion, it's very high aesthetic, very clean, and so it was this couple, and the wife worked at Hopkins, and I had no idea what the husband did, because they would always show up around 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, and she would be incredibly well dressed and coming from her job at Hopkins, and he would be wearing pajamas and a bathrobe, and I had no clue what this person was doing. But turns out they were a famous wood carver and woodworker. And one day he said, "We're moving to Switzerland. My wife is going to another lab, but I have this piece of work that I've been working on for a very long time." And it's a massive shield of basically the Baltimore flag and the Maryland flag. It took him actually over 240 hours to carve. It is for sale. It is $17,000. It is the most expensive thing in our brewery. No one knows it's for sale, but now you all know. It was actually, kind of segue into this is that, he just came in one day and was just like, "I like what you guys do, and I don't have a art dealer that I work with, and so can we put this up as consignment for this piece?" And we actually, French News Channel 1 came to the brewery and did like a 20-minute interview with us. And that's just kind of one of the small Easter eggs at Peabody. The souvenir sign that's also there is, that's actually from the original Memorial Stadium, which is kind of cool. So there's a lot of like small touches in the brewery, and there's, we're a family business, and I'm not sure if you know this, but I'm half Korean, and so some of the hand-painted signs around the brewery are my mom's, and so some of you, it's really nice. It's also kind of adorable because some of the words are spelled wrong on it. So it was a classic fundraiser with an extra D in there. There's a prescription for beer or alcohol behind the bar that definitely has prescription spelled wrong. And, I think it's one of the quirks that kind of makes, Peabody special. And, not just something, things like that, but also just kind of, what it means to me is, I spend most of my life there. I spend most of my waking hours there. I met my fiance there. I met all my close friends there. I live in the community that Peabody Heights is. And we're really incredibly lucky because we've done so many amazing things there. We've done fundraisers for the Mr. Trash Wheel. We've done fundraisers for the Able Street Fires. I'm not sure if anyone came to that, but we raised $18,000. Yeah. I mean, I did a small part of that. The community is what does it, and the community is the reason why we exist today. And that's kind of how and why we've kind of risen from there. Sorry, I'm gonna bump over. So this is my family. That's actually my dad in the far left-hand corner. This is my mom here. She is 5'2" Korean woman. She is terrifying. Really wealthy person. She's also hand knitted, crocheted 100 blankets that she's given out to children she sees at the brewery, especially newborns. It's really cool. I've actually seen a wedding happen at a brewery and a baby shower. I've seen 2 first birthdays. I've seen a couple turn into a family of 4, and it's really special. So we're really lucky in that aspect. There's actually, I think, let's see. Oh, yeah. So it's not great. As a part of the fundraiser that we did, if we hit like $5,000, I agreed to get frosted tips and dress up as Guy Fieri. Facial hair is not a good look on me. Sorry, my apologies. I'm just running through some of my notes here. And we're the reason that I think that things, as we thought through that process, and the business was for sale, and we decided to at least pivot one more time and try to focus on the one thing that is most valuable to us. It's the community. We really value ourselves as a community space. We've done the strangest things at the brewery. We've done the Mr. Trashville fundraisers. We just did a vintage VHS festival. We've done running groups. We also have a Stitch and Bitch every Wednesday. So it's a Wednesday craft night. There's trivia, of course. We did a Black Lives Matter fundraiser bake sale that raised $10,000 just right in the middle of the pandemic, which is really cool. We're really lucky, and we've been so lucky because all we've had to really do is just say yes to passionate people who really care about the community. And that's really kind of launched us into success. We do a Krampus, sorry, my apologies. There's just so many of them that are so wonderful that people care about so much. And sorry, I don't want to miss any special ones. What's this? Oh yeah. So this is probably one of the biggest events that we do monthly at the brewery during the summer months, and it's something we're really proud of. This is Butch Gardens. Yeah. As you probably know, I'm not a queer person, but this is truly one of the most special events that we do. It's 600 to 700 people show up at this one huge, massive event, and they just have a banger of a dance party in the middle of a brewery between the hours of 5 and 9 p.m. And it's really hard to see in this photo, but it is pouring down rain. And just being able to be a part of that community in some capacity is just absolutely incredible. And we feel so blessed and lucky that we're able to do these things. I'm here to say that the reason that Peabody is successful is not just because of me. I didn't create Butch Gardens. I just happened to serve the person that's one of the DJs for Butch Gardens, and I was just I think nice to that person, and I think that's really kind of what made Peabody successful, is that we've just kind of tried to open our doors to as many passionate groups, and I've got a great staff who are all very passionate about what they do, and I've given them the opportunity to pursue things that they're passionate about. So I'm not sure if you guys noticed in October, but our events coordinator is really into horror, and so I think there was 7 Halloween-esque events, which is really cool. I'm not sure if you guys saw the Waverly Book Festival that happened in Waverly. That was actually a collaboration between our events coordinator, Marshall. He actually came up with the idea originally. He worked with Red Emma's and Waverly Main Street. BOPA is doing BOPA things, and they're going to take over. They're going to do the Baltimore Book Festival will happen in Waverly this year out of the creation. But yeah. You guys are all too kind, really. People say that our business is a community space, but it's really the communities that drive success for us. And without that, there's no of these businesses. Baltimore is a neighborhood city, and every neighborhood has some sort of community hub. Typically, it's some sort of corner bar, but sometimes it's more than that. And I think that's really special. Sorry, I'm just gonna suck the thing. We also do a plan swap as well. This is the coolest I'll ever be, I'll be honest. So I actually switched the photos last minute, but this was not the one I was going for. We with the book festival, we actually had a drag storytelling hour, which was really cool. But this was really cool. There's an author that wrote a book about the history of the Wu-Tang Clan, and I got to give that book to Bear Scott at the book festival. Anyway, definitely the coolest I'll ever be. So this is just kind of a wonderful filler, a really good place to end, actually. So Peabody Heights obviously is accepting of any race, religion, queerness that, human that walks through the door. But we also accept all cats as well. Yeah. So this is the 4th cat that has breached our brewery. And they get spayed on Monday and they had their shots. So this will be potentially the 4th cat that we've helped adopt at the brewery. This cat used to be really mean, but now it's a completely sweet cat. So if anyone's looking to adopt them, their name is Jeppy for Jepson S. Malord. We're really classy over there. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. Oh, sorry. We'll worry about this later. Thank you guys all for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you to Mario and to Kira. Thank you to all the volunteers. Thank you to everyone for being here. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that. Oh, sorry. What's up? Oh, sorry, my bad. Oh, I'll hold it. Yeah, that's all.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So we're going to do a little Q&A now. So if you have a question for Eddie, you can raise your hand. But I'll start with a question, actually, for all of you. Who's been to Peabody Heights Brewery? Oh, so like a fair amount. But some friends haven't yet. How would you describe, you talked about it a little bit in your talk, but like how would you paint the scene for us, set the vibe? What's it like?
It's hard to see from that picture, but the space is very, I think, warm. It's very lived in. I think that it's again the community that really sort of shapes it. I think that as a person of color, is that a lot of people in the brewery industry and space are pretty white. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. And so it's really wonderful seeing the whole community and sort of wow, I'm really bad at that. Seeing a cross section of Baltimore, exist here, and it's really special. We have an indoor and outdoor space. We're also building a barcade, bar plus arcade. Barcade is copyrighted. I now know that. But I think the space is welcoming. It feels, I think, authentic. Because we don't really have investors. We don't have. Yes. Yeah. Well, I think the lack of investors allows us to do anything we want, and I think that to be able to do all the cool things that we do, I think that having the flexibility really, I think what makes us special. Sorry. We'll also take money though, so if anyone.
Yeah, and if anybody out here plays Killer Queen, it's the only place to play Killer Queen is at Peabody Heights.
Mm-hmm. And it's not as full of cats as it might seem.
Yes. Only one cat for now. Yeah.
So the community-oriented fundraising, celebrations, all of that, was that part of your ethos from the very beginning, or was that something that sort of evolved as you got to know people?
Yeah, I think so. I think we started doing a couple, and honestly, we just started doing it because we just were not successful. We were just slow, and I know that just being kind and doing the right thing is usually a pretty good concept, and so it just kind of happened, and so I care a lot about Baltimore, and I care a lot about the people that walk through the door, and usually it's just people asking us hey, I've got this idea, and I was like, sounds great. Will there be people drinking beer, and can I give you a little bit of money for it? They're like, awesome. So it just kind of happened like that, honestly. Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see hands. I'm on this side though. I don't know if there are hands. Oh, here we go. I'll come over there in this next.
I don't really have a question. I just wanted to sort of express my appreciation for the brewery. I've been there once, but it really made an impact because it was very welcoming, right? I walked in, but I didn't feel like I had to go to the bar and get a beer. I did.
Yeah.
I did. And I took some with me, did all the things. But it really felt like a place you could just be and you could just come to with kids, with friends, with anybody really. And you don't have to, there's no pressure. Sometimes you walk into bars or spaces that are supposed to be breweries, and they're really, you feel pressured to go up to the bar, get a drink, try to read everything. You feel like you're being watched to see if you come back up to get a drink, and it felt like a public park almost, you know what I mean? You could just be there, you could come to the space, and you could just relax and do what you wanted to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think part of that comes from the a lack of experience, and so it's like everyone's having a good time, and like, you know, that's what's important, right? And so I think I just have a really incredible staff that really cultivates that, and I think that like everyone that's there really cares, and I think everyone that's also there is just like a part of the community, and they kind of realize that, you know, the experience that people have there is really important to them. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. Thank you, by the way.
We hear a lot about the survival rates of minority-owned businesses, but what we don't hear a lot of are the stories of how those businesses that do survive, how they were able to turn their businesses around. So what's the TLDR? How did you get it off the chopping block, selling block?
I think we just sort of, invested. Like, obviously, investing in the community is kind of a broad concept, but like, I think all you have to do is just invest into like a small niche audience of people that care about one specific thing. And so, you know, by doing the plant swap, by doing the VHS festival, by doing the book festival, by doing, and, you know, also controlling the narrative, because, you know, I think that like, there definitely have been parts during the pandemic where it felt terrifying to say that we're an Asian-owned business, you know, just because of all the violence that was happening and the destruction of Asian-owned businesses. And, you know, it kind of ebbed and flowed. But at the same time, we threw like a big, massive Lunar New Year event that a ton of people came out, and I got to tell people about my culture and other Asian cultures as well. And, you know, I think that like, you know, committing to, you know, taking a concept, and whether it's, you know, minority based and sort of the culture of that minority, but just committing to it really, and just going all out. You know, we did karaoke and lion dancers, and you know, it's been really awesome. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Oh, sorry.
Wait, where are you going? Okay.
Sorry, it was right in front of me. I responded immediately. I wasn't helpful. I'm so sorry.
Now that you've mentioned it, anything going on for Year of the Dragon, which I'm excited about?
Yes, yeah. So there will be a Lunar New Year event. It's going to be in collaboration with NAP Baltimore. We're also doing it in collaboration with the Walthers as well, Art Museum. So they're doing their own celebration, and then we're also doing one similarly at night. So kind of a similar programming, but theirs is a little bit more accounting for their space. We're doing ours a little bit more of a party-centric kind of vibe.
You got a date?
I should know this, but sometime in February. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate you. She's good people.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
Swear
I am a Charles Village dweller.
Excellent.
And so I was just describing to my friend here that I think of Peabody as like a community center with beer.
100%.
It's like
absolutely.
It really is, and like the community park feel that really resonates. It's like a place I go where I will just see my friends. And also during the pandemic, like to me, even though it was clearly a really hard time, it was the place where my friends and I started to actually leave the house and convene. So we'd sit outside, even if it was cold. And then we felt like, okay, well, we can go inside because it's like big and dry. And you know, like it was sort of our safe space. And there are some businesses around it, but it's really nested right there in our neighborhood among houses. So it's like, hey y'all, see you at Peabody, we're going there. And it's a part of my life. It's great. Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Thank you.
Hi. So I wanted to know, you spoke about collaborating with community organizations. So did you reach out to them, or did they come to you? Like how did that happen?
Some of them I reached out to. Actually, it's really special. I'm not sure if you guys have come to previous Creative Mornings. My partner, fiance, Robin. So she used to be the former voice of Mr. Trashwheel, and I reached out there, and so that not in that.
Slide into
Those
the
were not my
DMs.
intentions. That was one of the few times that we've reached out to, and just by happenstance, obviously things worked out. So I think the biggest things, kind of like our Book Thing fundraiser and our the Able fundraiser, is that like it was just assumed that we were doing something, and so it just all kind of happened very quickly, which is great. It feels really lucky to feel like you're someone that people can count on to help get the word out, to help try and raise money. And so some of it's been collaborative, and we've reached out to different organizations, and some of it's just kind of like fell on our doorstep, and we try to do the call to action, I guess. Yeah, we're always looking for collaborations, so reach out.
On the supply chain side, what does barley look like now? Is that stabilizing, and are there sustainability movements that individuals can be a part of, or supporting certain breweries can help?
So now it's come down probably about 15%. So it hasn't come down dramatically. I think it's just like, the biggest thing I think for like, at least just like on a sustainability side, is just like, buying and consuming what you really need. And I oftentimes recommend buying at or just like having beers on draft at like a location. Or like take like a growler or reusable container back to the brewery, because there's just a lot of waste that comes with packaging. So there's like a plastic 6-pack holder, there's a label, there's a can. Thankfully, the aluminum's pretty recyclable, and the Pactex can be reused or melted down to other plastics. But I think that ultimately you save so much more, I think, from the sustainability side on just drinking at a bar and having something by the glass.
Drinking more beer, good for the earth.
Yeah. I'm hoping down the line that there will be more local farmers that produce grain locally that gets used in brewing. The only problem, though, is that that has to go through a malting process. So there's a whole process, and usually those happen at large facilities. And to be honest, a lot of that farming comes from large industrial, commercial farming, unfortunately. I think there are future sustainability efforts, and there's smaller breweries, and unfortunately we act on such a large scale that it's kind of hard to do it. But there's other breweries, I think Suspended's probably my favorite. They do a really, really good job because they work on such a small level of being sustainable and trying to use organic products and trying to go local. I think they do a really good job, but they're 1/1000th the size of us. But they're amazing. You should definitely go support them. And a lot of other great breweries around town as well.
If you're on the other side from me, just say something, because I can't see you.
Sorry, there's one other person. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll bring you a mic.
Something I love that you do, and I think other people would love to hear about, is how you made beer that highlights that you all have made customized beer that highlights other businesses or community projects, like the Butch Gardens beer, for example. But I know that there was a long history before that, so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that and how that came about.
So it's oftentimes after a couple beers, and some of those like-minded groups, we kind of get together, and we're, I think that Butch Gardens specifically is so wonderful, and I think for us it was just how do we add value on our end? Obviously not only just creating a space, but also just how can we add more value to it, really. And so a lot of those times it's just I think that it helps the event be more successful. It also, I think sometimes can be a signifier, especially at a bar that might serve something like Butch Gardens, I think that like a lot of those bars oftentimes have similar, ethos as like those as Peabody and Butch Gardens, and I think, those places, buy with specific reason behind it, and that's why things like Trash Wheel are really successful. But for us, we just think they're really fun collaborations, and they're fun, and we do them with people we care about. Sorry.
All right, come back over.
What is your #1 seller?
This is actually really funny. So I try not to tell. It's our #1 seller in the market, and for a large part, partially in the tap room, is probably our Asteron. It's our hazy IPA. It's a really bright, citrusy, tropical IPA. It's actually named after our state dinosaur. If anyone knows? Yeah. 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 It's actually really cool. We have like a pale ale version of it called the Astrodino, and it looks like it's a dinosaur in space. And the Space Telescope Institute's actually in Rotunda over in Hamden, and some of our regulars actually work there. And so they wanted to release like a James Webb Telescope launch edition, but like technically they can't have like a collaboration with like with a brewery or like especially NASA or Space Telescope because they're federally funded. And so we did do the launch edition with like a big asterisk behind it that said like, in no way is this beer in any collaboration with. It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank you for your space. I haven't been to it yet, but it sounds like you're doing a great job of building community and
thank you.
Just doing a great job of outreach, right? Personal question though.
Yeah.
I'm not an avid beer drinker, but
sure.
For the people who aren't avid beer drinkers, what would you recommend?
So we have like a wide collection of stuff, and actually I forgot the tail end of that last question. Actually, our #1 selling like beverage on tap at the brewery is actually our hard seltzer. I try to not tell our brewers about that. But I think that there are so many options, honestly. I think that like, depending on what you enjoy to drink otherwise, I think that there's a lot of other options that I think that like unique styles that people are just unaware of. And I think that like, just come out to the brewery. I think that there's like sours, and there's like Belgian beers, and there's sort of like, beers that don't just taste like beer or like really hoppy bitter water. And so there's a whole spectrum of flavor, and I think that like, just coming out, ask for a sample of stuff, just say like, if you like a specific type of wine or a specific like type of spirit. I think that there's in some capacity some way to find something that kind of represents or references those flavors for sure. Yeah. Thank you, by the way.
Anything non-alcoholic?
Yeah. So we work. We work with Tortuga Kombucha, which is another minority-owned business. We sell a lot of their kombucha. They're really awesome. Definitely recommend. We also have LaCroix as well, and a couple other soft drinks as well.
What about non-alcoholic beers? And what are your thoughts and feelings about them? Because I did recently read an article that talked about the higher risk, actually, of bacteria growing in them.
Yeah.
I don't want to start any rumors.
No, for
My
sure.
dad loves
for sure.
to send me these articles.
Yeah.
But it's kind of taken off, and as someone who drinks but not that much,
Yeah.
they seem like a nice option, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, 100%. So the misconstruction of the bacteria part is that like it's because there's no alcohol production, and like typically it's mostly relatively sweet. The bacteria they're talking about are like basically the same bacteria that like are incorporated in like probiotics, and so they release lactic acid. They tend to be a little bit tart. So just like from the bacterial side, it's not like a risk of like potential like health concerns. Actually, you might be helping a little bit with the probiotics, which is like kind of like an unfair misnomer. But to be honest, is that my events coordinator Marshall's been sober for the last 3 years. I just hired another taproom manager who's been sober, and they love non-alcoholic beers. I think that we've created a space that they feel comfortable in. I'd like to start having more non-alcoholic options. I think the pandemic for a lot of people was sort of drink a lot and then become sober, or like also have like a better relation, or like taking a step back and understanding your relationship with alcohol. Because to be honest, like I sell drugs, right? I'm not perfect, and so I'm not trying to push people to drink as much as they possibly can. Like, I want people to enjoy what we make, and in any amount of volume. I think that there's a lot of really good non-alcoholic options. Only problem though is that they're really, really capital intensive to produce at first, just because there's like a lot of specialty equipment that makes it kind of difficult. It's just like unattainable on a small scale at the point. But I think it's great. I know a lot of friends that drink them. I know that a lot of friends that that work in my industry that also are sober for January, or even like take months off at a time. I know that people sometimes will drink an alcoholic beer and they'll have it followed by a non-alcoholic beer. I think that like I don't want in any capacity that anyone feels like they are pushed to drink more than they should or want to, and I think that we all have to have a healthy relationship with alcohol, because it's just important. We want people here for the long run. Yeah.
Can you all help me thank Eddie for this morning?